birth of the strategist, the death of the salesman. A sale is made in the future. The two most powerful positions you're going to have in sales is one, compassion. Those that care more are going to sell more, period. But you can't just be compassionate. So you balance that with confidence. Those ones with the most confidence is going to win every negotiation. You bring those two C's together, you're able to influence people without coming across all salesy.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome back to the Better Than Rich Show. I'm your host today, Mike Abramowitz, and I'm here with Ted Miller III. Ted, welcome to Better Than Rich Show, brother.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, Mike.
I know you've worked with over 25,000 entrepreneurs. You have this fast growth code. You help create fast growth in a lot of businesses. You introduced me to Tyler with his Preservan business. We had a great conversation along with Jordan with Zion Outdoors. And really, Jordan blew me away with some of the things that you were talking about with him, with the 6-month expectation guide and the benchmarks and the hiring process script and your marketing recipe using that natural testosterone recipe model. So I'd really like to make sure that we're going in those paths, because when Jordan shared it, I was like, this is going to be super helpful for our listener to get it from the horse's mouth.
Not to mention Danielle connected us. She's a second generation client. I met with Rod back in 2008.
How could I forget Danielle Putnam? Her episode is live. If you haven't listened to her episode on the Better Than Rich Show, it's fantastic. The new flat rate, so many layers deep. Tony Robbins is always a great name that we like to throw around on the show because I'm a 7-time fire walker. I love him. If you could just share the business mastery, like you and Chet Holmes and Tony, how did that all come together?
We pioneered that and partnered up. That contract was signed in 2008. I'm from the Midwest. As far as I knew, Tony Robbins was full of shit. I was thinking that guy is just crazy and everyone's drinking purple juice, walking on fire. So I was definitely letting my insecurities judge a man I didn't know. And ever since I partnered, I hear that from people every day. The origination, where it really came from, the only reason I went to go see this guy that I was obviously judging, and I learned really fast, I was dead wrong. He's like us, a family man. He sees there's value beyond just a dollar of a business, but a purpose that we have behind our entrepreneurship. And so he's a kindred spirit in that way for us, Mike. But I didn't know that until I went to go teach him how to better sell. I was being called the best sales trainer on the market. My gurus that I came up listening to started saying that. So my ego's pretty hot. And I'm like, I'm going to go show this Tony Robbins guy a thing or two. And Mike, you know exactly what happened. I started taking copious notes. In like 15 minutes, I'm texting Chet Holmes, the author of The Ultimate Sales Machine. And I'm like, man, I'm learning way more than I'm going to be able to teach this guy. And he's like, you better teach him something. I promise I come with something. But bud, right now, we got a bunch we can improve on. It was beautiful. But that whole path came because of Chet's vision. God bless his soul. He passed away a dozen years ago. He just had it in his mind, someday I'm going to partner with Tony Robbins. And I was like, I don't know why we need another partner, but okay. And we did it. And it was fantastic. So I'm really grateful. And he wanted to create a seminar for business owners. So we had that intellectual property. We had a business that ran outside of events. He did not. So that's why that was attractive. And after a few years, we eventually signed a contract. It was great.
I appreciate you capturing that. And for the listeners that don't know, Ted is an expert. This is what I wanted to bring to you on being able to bring the sales, the hiring processes, and going a couple of layers deep. We have a couple of topics that we're going to try to go service level and then pull out of you maybe the things that people pay you for. As far as thinking about this blue collar guy, he's running a business, relies on him. He was a technician, an expert at roofing or garage doors or landscape. And he did the thing and then added some people and then maybe added his wife to be an office manager and then just kind of hodgepodge the business together. And now got to the point where he's putting some coin in his pocket. He's probably making a couple $100,000 for himself. He's feeding his team, but he's reached this threshold where the business fully functions and operates on him. If he leaves the business pretty much is going to crumble at some point into the future. Okay. So through the lens of optimizing user experience, we could take the user as the owner, we take the user of the technician, and the user as the client. And I would love to hear you just riff on how to make an exceptional user experience, maybe like a Michael Gerber E-Myth mentality on each of the roles of what does an optimal user experience look like for each of those three parties. And you could go in any direction that you see fit. And then I'll pull out the second and third and fourth question as you're riffing.
Okay, sounds great. Well, start at the top with you, the entrepreneur, the guy that started this business because of whatever reason. Maybe you just didn't want to report to the man and you hated it so much you started your own business. And the frame from which Mike gave is quite limiting. Like, you're going to get stuck at a few million really fast if you want to build a business around you owning a job. Like, that's not how Jordan started. Jordan started because he had a partner in another venture. I helped him grow 100% rate of growth in just 12 months. And that's because he saw a value in leveraging other people. When he started on his own, he came out with his own initiative. He made it clear right out of the gate, this is not going to be the Jordan only show. He knew that it was going to take a team of really great people to grow past I own a freaking job, so I own a business. And that's a great example that you've already had him on your show because he's grown very fast. And the revenues you just alluded to, he surpassed in his second year from zero. And that came from the mindset that we're better together, that if you really want to do something excellent, having like an experience as an entrepreneur, if you try to do it solo, you're guaranteed to carry all the weight. But if you have a team, then you mitigate the risk because you have several people that you count on to be your colleagues, to be your confidants, to be someone that copacetically is working with you in lockstep. And then it could be spread across the team. Now you don't have as much trauma. Now you don't have as much interruptions in the middle of your vacations with your family. Now you're not sitting with so much stress that might literally kill you. I've had friends that are now dead, and I believe stress kills. I'm betting a lot of people sometimes paint themselves into that corner because they don't want to manage people. That was the headache they had before, or their mismanaged expectations. That's why people get frustrated. And those are skills, Mike. Learning how to better manage an expectation, that's a skill set. When I taught that to Jordan, he used it to double his revenue in just 12 months. He may or may not have put that in some of his books. Stellar to Stellar, that was back when he was doing 100% rate of growth. But then now with his organization, he exceeded all of his goals that he wrote to me in his text, and he rehired me. We got back involved because he leveraged his team. And along the way, he said, how do I make sure I'm not the only greatest sales guy? Because he loves being a great salesman. Some of you guys are great technicians, but he's a sales guy first and foremost. So he loves pitching it, man. But he also knew always, Ted was in his head is what he would say. And Ted's on his shoulder saying, someday, maybe it shouldn't only be you selling. Because if it's only you, you're only going to get so far. And you're going to get stuck at the ones and threes. 1 million, 3 million, 10 million, 30 million. And he's got a $100 million vision. So that's where I'd start first, Mike, is do you intend to be someone self-employed? Or do you intend to transition to becoming a CEO? Or do you hope someday to own a business and you don't even have to show up, just receive the checks because you built a business that's operating without you? That's a decision you got to make out of the get.
It's a good frame because sometimes this guy likes turning the wrenches. He actually likes being in the field. So he might want to still do the thing.
That's a get to versus a have to. The major distinction there is, like, if you built a business where I have to, now you're acting like you're a victim, and there are no victims. This is a choice you make. So if you want to get to, I get to turn the wrench because I love it. Well, then great. Let's build a business that can run without you, and you get to choose the projects. If you've been around for a while, you start getting some gray hairs. You don't want to have to go work on the thing that's just mind-numbingly boring and putting you to sleep. I'm sure they've gotten certain things that they love. They love turning wrenches only when it's air conditioned or only when it's complicated so they can feel significant. So there's always conditions because each person's unique, but the get to versus have to is a delta in the quality of life.
One of the things that we like to do is an audit. We'll start with their website, top of the funnel, and make sure it's optimized. And then we'll audit the CRM, all the follow-ups and everything is structured correctly. And then we'll go through it on a client journey, the user experience. What are all the if-thens? If they click this, what is optimal? A form versus a discovery call versus an actual call. Where is the client going in this experience? And frankly, because some of these guys might not be good at sales, we want to try to make sales process as predictable as possible so we don't rely necessarily on the skill of the salesperson in this industry until they actually get to the property. And ideally, all of the pre-frames are all done before they're making the offer and giving them the design. So if you wanted to speak to sales process a little bit on how to pre-frame as an expert during a sales process, and then what are some of the tactical questions, discovery questions, your favorites that might be relevant inside the design phase or while they're walking the site?
Okay, that's great. So as a business owner, do you have an intention to have a great client experience? Do you even have core values that you articulate to your team? So when the person who's got the wrench, if that's yourself or one of your employees, first of all, motives matter. Do they have that intention? And if they have that motive, you're going to have sales systems, which could be as simple as a laminated card that sticks in their pocket. Like just it sticks right there and it's laminated in their inside pocket and they pull it out. Why do you want it laminated? Because that's the process Mike was talking about. When you start saying predictable systems, you sound like the man a little bit, Mike. Remember, it's entrepreneur friends that really love you and they want to have, they want to be better than rich. They're wanting to love what they do, but they don't want to do that in the sake of sounding like the man. So when you're in service to another, you're no longer answering to the man. You're in a service state. You get the gift of being in service. Pull it out. Stand 6 feet back. Why am I stepping back? You stand back and so they can see the third bullet point on your laminated shirt. These are sales processes. Why? Because it creates a safe space. Why do I care about safety? Because safety is what we're going to do to be able to bond. Why do I want rapport? Because that's the first step in your sales cycle. But most don't take the time to really think through how to have a great experience because they're still focused on what they want, not what the client gets. They're still focused on, I need more leads to make enough sales so I can hire a next electrician. Whereas if their intent is focused on excellent experience with the client that I have, because you know how most of these are doing right now, commoditized environments, they're doing loss leaders, meaning something is not going to make them wealthy. They're going to get on site, and only when they're on site are they going to upsell and cross-sell into the thing that makes them money. If this is a service-based industry, that's the standard protocol right now. So that means they must be great. And one of the first things is managing the first impression you have with someone as soon as they open the door. So that process can get laminated. I love it when I see them pull it out because if you want to be framed as an expert, next you know they pull out their iPad and they're showing pictures. Well, did you know, according to blah, 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 when did you build this home? Well, Mr. Miller, I built this 19 years ago. Okay, well, did you know statistically, according to the likelihood of this failure is imminent last year or up into the next 12 months. Have you had any problems with it? No, I haven't. Perfect timing that I'm here to mitigate that. Like it's the framing with insights, education. I mentioned Chet Holmes earlier. He is not a man that pioneered education-based marketing. Educational-based marketing has been around for decades. He just brought it to the forefront of people's awareness through that mega New York Times bestseller. And it's a great opportunity to leverage market data, which can be more motivational than product service data could ever be. So what did I just share? A, do your technician have the intent to be in service? Do they have a reminder of what excellence looks like? Do they then share that? Because now that I prepared and I got my laminated card, this person knows I'm prepared and I've got a little checklist, or I got it digitally on my phone or my iPad and I open it up and I'm walking them through it. It's like, oh, they sure know what they're talking about. Instead of, I'm answering the door. I'll just say it like this. You're talking about a journey, Mike. When you answer the door, people are in the freeze, fight, flight. It's the back of the brain. It's reptilian part of the brain. That's the reason why they say no to you. If you're still a technician knocking on the door, that's why they're on their heels. They're in reptilian brain. And some trainers out there will talk about neurolinguistic patterning only, but that takes you to the mammalian part of the brain. That's where you're living out of time and space. Where you want to really go is at a frontal lobe where they go, wow, I didn't know that as a homeowner. And you shared that, so you must be the expert. So the way a technician can sound more intelligent than they are is simply being prepared with a sales process because it's laminated or an iPad, and they just simply go through some of the key unique selling propositions your organization has. That wins more sales than anything else, just hyper focusing on the first point of contact. Is that relevant in this group of people that are listening to Better Rich Show?
Yep, very relevant. We just built this out. We had a couple of clients come into town and we built the sales process with some videos before a discovery call, some videos pre-framing. And once they get there, they pull out the iPad and says, this is essentially how this is going to do. We're going to walk through the property and it shows a picture of them walking the property. Then I'm going to go to my truck and prepare your estimate. You're going to watch a video that I'm going to give to you. We're going to sit at your kitchen table and review the estimate. And I'll have 3 offers for you.
You help them with that, Mike? Because that's really good. I mean, that's world class. No, seriously. Is that one of your clients or did they just come
Yeah. That's That's the
That's
process.
why they got to
So
find Mike and his organization. I hear plenty of clients, and 90% of them are not operating like that, Mike.
So that way the client knows what to expect. That way we can get to the kitchen table. Ultimately, we want to show the client, like, this is what's going to happen. Oftentimes I find these blue collar guys going through the client's buying process versus taking the client through their selling process. So that's why I'm asking some of these questions about selling process, because some of these guys that are listening might not necessarily know how to build theirs or what that should look like. If you could speak to this one where someone who's like shopping around, getting some estimates, and you're number 1 or number 5, but like how to anchor in potentially like decisiveness with some of those question asking.
Okay, wonderful. First, there are some that are listening to you, Mike, and everything you just said sounds like a lot of work. That's why it's like, go to Mike, let him help you. That's a no-brainer. It's so much simpler. And I just want to cite the sources. If you read Robert Cialdini, he'll talk about commitment and consistency in his book Influence. That's what Mike helped do, is he managed an expectation, told them what the experience is going to look like. So when they're in the middle of it, they're more comfortable. They're free to move from the reptilian part of the brain, live in the frontal lobe, so they can make a new decision. So to get tactical based on questions, I always like asking things like, what was the number one reason why you contacted us here today? Something really casual, just fundamental, basic. Hey, I'm reading here, blah, 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 who set up this call, said the most important reason. Is that the most important reason? Because sometimes they'll say, whatever. Well, air conditioning is working okay. But when it got 99 here, it didn't keep it as cool as I wanted. I was wondering if it was working okay. But if you ask that again, the same question, whatever it is, a biggest challenge you have in getting your business where you want it to be. I need more new clients. Well, what's your biggest challenge you have in getting more new clients? I think my marketing stinks. Okay, then what do you think is your biggest challenge in having marketing that doesn't stink? Good question, Ted. If you take the time to just sit in the same question to go deep enough and not jump on it like a sales guy who's ready to pounce because they finally give me an opportunity to sell my unique selling proposition, but be present enough with another human being to get down to the real heart of the matter, what I call the heart of sales. From there, that's why you're out close those neurolinguistic patterning people that go to listen to Wolf of Wall Street type of trainers. You're going to out close and sell 2 to 1 because motives matter, and those who care more will care enough to go deeper to the heart of matter instead of just running with the first opportunity that's given them. So ask things like, what's the most important reason? And if they're looky-loos, the response are going to be like, well, I don't really know. Actually, I was just kind of like shopping around. You guys placed an ad in front of me. I clicked it. And I don't even really know why we're in this meeting. Here's something that's a really cool piece of a knowledge transfer is, when is a sale made? And you know this, Mike, a sale is made in the future. But a lot of people try to talk about past things that they've done with other clients or their current condition. But sales are made in the future. So one great way is to get self-awareness. Do you have any pain currently now? And if they say no, then can you pre-frame questions that are going to guarantee they realize they're going to have pain in the very near future if they don't take immediate action now? And they'll have immediate pleasure if they take action today to mitigate that. So classic associative conditioning, it's carrot and stick. If people can find ways to pull out that stick, the pain that is relevant to all business owners or homeowners that these service-based businesses are serving are fundamentals that you can find in every given situation. Roofers see the top same 10 problems. Electricians find the top 10 same challenges in a home. Whatever the business is that you have, the HVAC contract, they see the same things. Don't pretend that the person who's on their journey knows half as much as you. They're completely ignorant of the most common mistakes that happen in their units. So be willing to take the time to dance on each of those fundamentals. And you're going to find more often than not, 8% of your sales process is going to be taken care of because you fundamentally address the things that matter the most.
So if we had to just go into like a role play for just a moment, let's say I'm the homeowner, you're the salesperson. The clients that we had in town are 4 different landscape lighting companies. Let's say we're having our conversation. I just did my iPad thing. I showed them, we're going to do the walkthrough. Then I'm going to go to my truck. You're going to watch a video. And then I'm going to come to the kitchen table and I'll show you my offers. Let's go walk the property. Now, as we're walking the property, you as the salesperson, I want you to use question asking to raise price perception. I want you to give the audience an opportunity to see how to use questions to raise the expectations of price and value, and whether that be price anchoring, price positioning, maybe some of your favorite questions that you could do there. And then how you can use question asking as a consultative approach where you can position yourself as the expert without having to have all the answers. So it almost takes that pressure off the technician to have to be all the answers, but I'm able to position myself as expert. Just to go into that role play, it might not be perfect. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
Oh no, it's great if your audience is ready for advanced sales skills training. I'll give it right now. There are 3 different positions from which you're going to engage with another human being. They're going to see you as their peer. You're just like me, buddy, right? So it's a peer state. Now, you behave differently with someone who's a peer as compared to someone who's inferior to you. So inferior posturing. So gosh golly, I don't know. And then there's superior posturing. That's when you're telling someone, welcome to the stage, the president of the United States. Like they're not even announcing themselves. Someone announces their arrival when they come to the scene. That would be superior posturing. Unfortunately, too many people are trying to be superior. And when you're too superior too long, you come across like a jerk. So most people have never gotten advanced sales skills training to comprehend that on the job site, when they roll up, they can be inferior posturing and superior posturing. So that would look like, gosh golly, I'm just kind of curious. Climb all the way up there 3 stories high here, Mr. Miller, to put those Christmas lights up? Or do you not do Christmas lights? No, I pay a company to come out and do Christmas lights. Oh, no kid. Yeah, all right. Gee, what was that? Oh, it's like $460, but then I started doing it on the side yard. Oh, when we walk over, you got it facing that side too? Oh, that's really interesting. Now that's just exploratory. I just found out that every single Christmas is spending $785 to have Christmas lights put up and taken down, right? But what he doesn't know is I'm about to sell him the LED lights that are inside, underneath, there permanently. And then if I want to go superior, I pull out this iPad. Hey, did you know? According to, and then now I'm talking about a home that you love. What dictates if you love a thing? It's the ambiance of it. Do you know how much your light impacts the way that you feel? Have you ever walked in a room and the lights are too bright and too stark? Yeah, kind of like all your spotlights you have. But have you ever walked in a room and it's got ambiance that's perfect? Like when you go out to dinner, you're like, yeah, well, it's great. Your home can have that too, just like this. Flip over to a like-minded home that looks gorgeous. That looks amazing. But you can change the mood. Valentine's Day, Easter, and you're showing how, and now instead of having to pay just for one experience once a year at about that similar price, look what you could have for year round. Now I'm just planting a seed that this is not just going to be a replacement for Christmas lights. I'm now creating an environment because the reason you want to have a home that you love, according to the American Medical Association, is the top killers in the United States are heart disease, cancer, and stroke. Now, it sounds kind of weird as an electrician telling you about heart disease, cancer, and stroke, but according to the American Medical Association, having a home that you love is the number one way you can release your stress. That if you turn the corner, you see your home, and you're like, yay, and you have that sensation, that changes you biochemically. Did you know that? You may not do this, but these are messages that other vendors have used and just absolutely crushed by taking inferior posturing questions to get them to open up, and then superior statements that they don't say, I know because I've been in business 30 years. They never flexed like that. They cited third-party experts. The person hearing it's not going to go, I don't believe you. It's like your buddy tries to give you medical advice in the middle of COVID, right? Remember your buddy that's your peer? How much did you listen to your buddy? You didn't, Mike, did you? Right? You did your research. You went to someone you respected and you said, okay, now I'm more certain because this stress is building up. I'm going to look for certainty. I'm going to find someone who has superior posturing. If you want to make a sale at the end of the day, there's a transmutation from you as a business owner, a vendor, contractor, whatever title you have, your technician is. It's confidence from you to the business owner, the purchaser, whoever the purchaser is. Could be a business owner or a homeowner, whoever you're selling to. You come with certainty. That's maybe a better word. And if you bring certainty to the table, they're more likely to sign on the line that is dotted because you've painted a more compelling future than they have now, and you're showing clearly how you're going to avoid pain. Superior posturing, inferior posturing, you don't have to be in only one. In the same conversation, go down in your tone, you can go up. You can use these 3 positions to bond with people, to lead people, and then to follow them to find out what they really care about. Those are 3 positions most people aren't focused on too much. And what I find is they try to use a little bit of something they learned from the Wolf of Wall Street. And now they've come across like a jerk. Or they trying to find the tree hugging hippie teenager gurus that are on the internet, and they're just coming across sounding Mickey Mouse. If they want to be matured, they want to understand there's no one position better than another, because there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just leveraging the one that's going to best serve you in the moment.
It reminded me when you were talking from Mastering Influence with Tony, where it's like rapport, questions, personal congruency, and then state management. And when we have those 4 character traits or those 4 keys, when we're doing our negotiations or doing our discovery, rapport, we got to have deep connection. And then the questions we want to have, that's like the shovel. That's a tool we're
Yep.
using, are the questions. But that personal congruency, what you were saying there, with that confidence, that certainty that you're going to get the better end of the deal than me. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to spend the money, but you're going to have a beautiful home that's going to, you know, satisfy the pain that we were talking about. And then state management, my focus, my words, and my posture, my body language and physiology. Those are the four things that are going to help with influence, and need to bring that inferior language, inferior questions, inferior posture. And then the superior is bringing that level of state management, that level of focus, those words. So obviously we're 3 layers deep already with professional consultation, which maybe we lose the guest a little bit.
Those that have been following you for a while, they're using some of these tactics and a small distinction between having a good outcome and an excellent outcome. So this could be just the most transformative day for them ever. Like you just never know. When I shared that, you know, with Rodney, 17 years ago, who would have thought the second generation business owners in his company would be using that and would bring you and I together? That's Daniel Putnam, right? You would have just never connected the dots. So yeah, I have faith they're going to really appreciate it for sure. For sure.
Before we take a hard pivot into a whole different direction, anything else you want to talk about with sales or sales process?
If you felt like what Mike just said was, I think we just lost someone, it's easy. The 2 most powerful positions you're going to have in sales is 1, compassion. Those that care more are going to sell more, period. But you can't just be compassionate. You balance that with confidence. Those ones with the most confidence is going to win every negotiation. You bring those 2 C's together, you're an unstoppable technician, unstoppable entrepreneur that's able to influence people without coming across all salesy.
Awesome. Thanks for tying a bow on that. Sales process was a piece we hit on. We hit on the hiring piece just a smidge. I'd like for you to capture it for the hiring piece before we go into this marketing recipe that I'm really looking forward to hearing about, this natural testosterone recipe model. Before we do that, I want you to go into the hiring, the A player like pushback. And this is a really exciting way to bring A players forward in the interview process. Most business owners, when they hear this, they'll be like, I don't know if I would ever say that in my interview because I don't want to lose the candidate if I really was excited about the candidate. But I love the psychology shift that you have, which is, no, this is where you get the A player.
Well, explain it to them, because you're saying something out of context they might not know. If you're looking to hire a sales superstar, because some of you may realize like, hey, I'm a great technician, but I'd love to just assign the sales role to someone else, just so I can do what I love. And that could single-handedly bring you way more business than you could ever handle. How do you know if they're going to be great? I just shared it with you. Highly compassionate, highly confident. But how do you know in an interview if they're highly compassionate and highly confident? Well, you ask better questions. When we taught this to Robbins Research International, they were trying to play too many games. They were trying to manipulate a situation. I was like, this is so simple. They're salespeople. What's the number 1 thing you face in the field of sales, Mike? Rejection. All you have to do is put them in an environment where they are rejected to see how they handle it. And the most elegant way I found is to be in an interview, pre-screening, by the way, pre-frame that this is going to be very short. Never more than 10 minutes, some only 2 minutes long. Because what you're going to do is interrupt them at about 2 minutes in and say, hey, I was trained by the best recruiter in the world. Ted Miller told me to stop and tell you what I like most about you. So if I'm talking to you, Mike, it's like, you're just so gregarious, just so likable. I mean, you're leading with points of commonality to where you helped a past business owner of mine and rallied around it. We anchored really quickly to Cutco and how John Ruhlin was a friend of mine and how you'd worked with him in the same space. Like, you're really easy to like. And if that guy was like you, I would say, wow, you're so gregarious. Like, I like you already and I barely spoke to you. So you share an honest compliment. You can always find a compliment. Anyone can. If you can't, it's because you're running a filter that you can't. So like, grow up. Okay, what is it I like most about this human being? And then you share it. And you let the shoe drop and say, and if I were going to hire 2 people, I'd even considering hiring you, but I'm not, Bob. You see, I'm only going to hire 1. I'm only going to hire an achiever and a top producer. And I got to tell you, Bob, I'm just not hearing it. So I've just rejected that person. And I say, I'm just not hearing it. What am I going to learn in that moment, in an instant?
Am I going to fight for it?
Yeah. They have the hunger, the drive, or not. Because Tony uses the word passion. You're a big fan of Tony. I heard someone else say the other day, another measurement of passion is the degree of how much pain you're willing to put up around a subject. So whatever the subject you're passionate with, you'll do the hard stuff. You'll go through the pain to make it through the drama to come out the other side. That's what passion kind of is. In life, there's good and there's bad. There's no right, there's not wrong. There's just opportunities. So if you reject them and they go, yo, what? You're not hearing it? You repeat what they say. You're not there to sell them. They're supposed to be there to sell you. This is an interview. And you repeat what they say. Oh, you're just not hearing it? Okay, well, thanks. Bye. And that's the end of the conversation. But an absolute star, I remember first time I did this, I paid 40 grand to learn how to use this strategy. I was sleeping in my Dodge Ram quad cab pickup truck. I moved to Silicon Valley because all the .com people were getting wealthy there, but .com just went bust. I couldn't afford my office and a place to live. So I'm sleeping in my truck. I'm showering in 24-hour fitnesses. I paid 40 grand money I could not afford to Jay Abraham. That's how I met my future partner, Chet Holmes. Jay gives me the strategy. Chet teaches me how to implement it. And I remember the first time I did it, a guy named Jerry Slaughter. I said, I'm just not hearing top producer. And Jerry grabs the phone and he goes, what's the problem, bud? Do you need a hearing aid? I just got done sharing with you how I've been an achiever everywhere I've been. I just came out of mortgages, their top rep in the entire nation. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this, Ted. What part of overachiever and a top producer are you not hearing? And that guy owned it. I'm like cheering. I'm muting my phone. I'm like, yes. And I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Because everyone else was folding like chairs, like 3, 4, 5. I was surprised how they just folded. But Jerry stood out of the crowd like that. In 3 minutes, I knew Jerry had confidence, which is essential. So once I knew he had the confidence, I toggled over into compassion to make sure he's not going to just be a jerk. And so that has saved so many people's lives. In fact, everyone listening right now, think of it. Have you ever regretted that you let someone go too early? Never met a business owner who says they regretted letting someone go too early. I go, but have you regretted holding on to the wrong person too long? And everybody says, absolutely, I've done that. So most people are just unwilling to end the wrong relationship sooner. You know what they're really doing, Mike? Because they're not living on a better than rich lifestyle. They're selfish. They're thinking this guy might be able to sell, and they find out they're weak in confidence. You know what they do is they just hope they're going to change. I just hope they're going to change their core identity. They were brought up by the age of 9. That's been anchored into their meta belief structure. And they're going to just absolutely change so I can get wealthy and not have to grind out the hard stuff I don't enjoy as much. And they put them on the job. They're constantly upset. They're never meeting their quota. Do you think the employee knows that they're upsetting you? Absolutely. So now they feel like a total loser. They're frustrated and depressed until you guys finally hate each other enough you quit or fire that person after 6 to 9 months. Of how much base salary? Do yourself a service. Stop asking a pig to fly. Quickly assess if they have the skills so you know if you have a cultural fit. Ty has found a way. Ty McBride, who's on your show, took that and ran with it. And he found people that just love people. They recognize that their business is service. They understand there's value in having pride in everything that they do. They don't call people clients. They call them neighbors. People they take money from, Mike, they call neighbors. See, it takes a certain type of persona to want to be willing every single day referring your clients as neighbors. That's a culture fit. And if you start hiring and firing based on the culture you want to create, regardless of performance, you're going to have a team that can grow exponentially and you'll be on the Inc. 500 in no time. Just like Jordan and Ty will be.
So you demonstrate the confidence piece. Can you just demonstrate the compassion piece so that way it's captured for the recording?
Real world, no BS, don't fluff it. Be real with me. Mike, think back to early childhood. What was something you're most proud of?
I was really proud of making the 8th grade basketball team when I thought I should have got cut.
Yeah. And by the way, that shows like why he has such confidence today. Somewhere in that dialogue, we're going to find out someone believed in Mike more than he believed in himself. He didn't believe he could make the cut. The same stories told everywhere. Someone believed in more than I believed in myself. And that's where confidence started growing. Who was that, by the way? Was it your mom? Was it your dad? Was it the coach? Who was it?
Coach.
See how fast everyone has the same story. So that's a classic achiever. So you're looking for those achievers. Now you want to see how the compassion, how do you serve? Like here, it's called better than rich. You know, when you enrich in your soul, what's the thing that you've done early, like childhood? What's the first time where you contributed to someone other than yourself and you thought past who I am and realized you can make a positive difference in someone's world in a really positive way? What was that first experience, Mike?
Feeding and providing clothing for the homeless.
Yes, I felt the same way. Mine was in Lower Wacker Drive with my mom and her baked beans, and they remembered my mom's name because she adds brown sugar to the baked beans and the bacon in it as well. And they knew my mom. and they're homeless, Lower Wacker, if you're not from the Chicagoland area. It was like the hood. I don't know if it's even available, but it's like Tent City when you went underground. So that's where we went to feed them. That stuck with me. That's why when my son became 9, 10, or 12 or something, I hopped on a plane and we went to Nicaragua together and we built some homes. So you get to ask those type of questions and see what they've done lately. It doesn't take much to find out people aren't even operating like that, Mike. Like you went there so fast that it'll be hard for you to be real with me to pretend that you don't know what compassion is, because it's a part of who you are. It's your identity. But those that don't identify with it, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I lent some tools to my neighbor when they needed some of my tools. You mean that? Like, you know what I mean? Like real fast, you're going to be like, oh, that guy doesn't have as much heart. You know, he's here for the money only. And you got to make a decision. Is that on brand? Make sense, Mike?
So in that interview with this A player, Jerry pushes back. Do you need a hearing aid, bud? Let me ask you this next question. And then you ask him a compassion.
You're going to have to address the reason why you reject them, you know, right? You're not going to fold like a chair in the face of rejection. Yeah, that's why I've been a top producer, Ted. Okay, well then don't think I'm a heartless jerk. I'm just asking it to see if you're congruent with the words that you shared with me. And then now when I'm talking about, hey, what was the thing you're most proud of? So now they're in a confident state. Meaning the reason you ask about early childhood, Mike, is I want to make sure everyone understands it. Everyone pretends when they're trying to apply for the job with you today, they're in the best place of their entire life and why you should be paying them an optimal price. But if I can get them back in time, I know they weren't making $1 million when they were 9. Like now I can come forward and get a realistic timeline of when they started making money and how much I actually need to pay to employ this guy, because I might not be able to afford a person, or maybe I could. And the question could just be about how do you serve others when someone's in need? How do you respond at workplace when someone's struggling? Meaning if I hired you not just as a salesperson, but you eventually became leadership here, maybe like a director of sales, what should we do with those that are struggling? How do we respond to that? And find out real quick where they're at. You know, 2 or 3 questions that are congruent with you really fast, you're going to know, okay, they're just not on the radar, or they're all the way the other way around. Like now they're a socialist. And now they're like, whoa, I don't, what? You have a moral obligation. And if you drive here in a BMW, you should burn in hell, because listen, there are people starving in this world and you should not. So, you know, like that, like real fast. It won't take long to find people freaking out on interviews if you ask polarizing questions. And I'm just like, do you want to hire that person? You'd love being a capitalist. This is called better than rich. You might not want that person who's freaking out. I'm from Portland, by the way. You might not get that a lot where you're at, Mike, but man, that's on the street corner. So that's the reality.
This is good. I want to make sure we hit on this marketing recipe. I teased it twice. Tell me, natural testosterone recipe model.
Oh my gosh, that recipe is so long. So what I did is I was blessed enough to have a client paying consulting fees to come in and help them write their copy. 20, 30 different criteria that you would need in a marketing piece to cut through the clutter, grab people's attention. Like what's a pattern interrupt? What's cadence from which you speak in like an advertisement? How do you make an audacious claim? How do you pre-frame a thing? So I got a list of like 30. If someone emailed me at tedmiller@tedmiller3.com and wanted it, I can give them all 30. But when Jordan heard me interview my client from 15 years ago, and he was on this session with me, and I took what was a 60-second ad and I spent 30 minutes showing him at the end of the day, if you want to win over your client and you want to be able to grab people's attention like now, like grab your most ideal client in an instant, you're not going to write that on your first sit down. It's going to be version 26. You're going to refine that thing again and again and again. What my late partner, Chet Holmes, called the PhD. You got to earn your pivoted discipline and determination. And if you've been in business for any length of period of time, I asked you real quick, your elevator pitch, would it be any good? So what is it you do? Do you stumble? If I ask your staff members, do they stumble? Or worse, they say something completely different than you? So now if you're you own a plumbing company, I talk to your plumber, then I go to your website and I speak to you and I hear 3 different stories. You got to get your story straight. You got to find a way to communicate at the best possible level, because maybe you're hiring people that I'm here to be a plumber. I don't need to be a salesman, but you can train anyone on how to say something fundamentally be transformative, like Domino's did. And they came up with the phrase, we'll deliver a pizza in 30 minutes or less, guaranteed, or it's free. And that's the only thing they had to train the lowest paid new employee to know is the ethos of who they are and how they operate. And that was enough of a unique identifier. It set a buying criteria in your favor. It grabbed market share from a competitor who had 25% of all market share for pizza was by Pizza Hut. And Domino's took business like candy from a baby from them because they took the time to iterate that down to less and less and less. I think any of you could sell anyone if you were given an hour. But if you had to say it in like a sentence or 60 seconds, that's going to take an iteration process. And most people aren't committed to that. That's why most get stuck at 1 million or 3 million and don't grow beyond it. Then they get stuck again at 10 million or at 30 million because they don't look at the iteration of what I would need to say to capture the next wave of your market that's going to best serve you in profitability, EBITDA, or possibly an exit for a profitable return for a life's work. Or in Amber Lee's case, 5.5 years, and she's got a 10x on her EBITDA offer on the table right now. It's like $86 million. Yeah, 5.5 years. Service-based business.
The marketing recipe is a list of 30 some odd questions.
They're marketing strategies that every marketing guru knows, but most don't take the time to weave them all together in a single message.
And all of that is to pare down. So all of those questions to one phrase that is easy, memorable, and simple for every party involved that's going to do business with your business, whether it's talent, team, prospects, clients.
Well, I can say it this way. I talked a lot about Chet today, so I'll honor him as we're getting ready to wrap up here and just acknowledge that he said on his deathbed, the birth of the strategist, the death of the salesman. The salesman tries to pitch a thing. What do you want from a sales call? I want to make a sale. A strategist goes, I want to make a sale and I want to build rapport. I also want to set a buying criteria in my favor. I also want to preempt my competition. I also would like to increase likelihood they're going to refer me to other people. I just will think through all of those and have that one message adhere to all of those conditions. So my email is just 20 or 30 conditions that are guaranteed to have marketing success. Most people don't take the time to become a strategist. They say, hi, my name's Bob. I've got a plumbing business. Let me tell you why I'm the best plumber in town, and wonder why they get rejected. The strategist learns how to weave it all together, and it becomes elegant. It becomes easy because you can teach anyone a log line. You can teach anyone a stadium pitch. You can teach anyone how to repeat a 2-sentence phrase again and again and again that you can get clients on demand left and right. If not, hire Mike.
All right, before, I know people are going to want to stay in touch with you, but before I ask you our final question, was there anything that we didn't hit on, I didn't ask you that you're like, dang, Mike, I wish we would have talked about that today that we didn't get to? Was there anything that's left unsaid?
There's a ton that's left unsaid, but that's why I said 2 times, I'm going to say it 3 times, is like, call on Mike's organization. There's another set of skills that allow you to operate with a higher degree of freedom or profitability that you're just not getting now. And that's what I want to make clear, is that the distinction that's keeping you from where you want to be and where you're at now is just skills, your skills as a business owner. So reach out to Mike. He's going to be able to help you with that. Learn how to better execute on proven business growth strategies and watch your business take off.
I appreciate that, Ted. Thank you. We ask every guest the same question. What does it mean to you to be better than rich?
What it means to me to be better than rich. Fulfillment. I don't know why Chet came up so much today. Probably because I met Rod. You got connected to me through Daniel. Rod was a client back when Chet was live. He's dead, and he told me he wanted his FU money. I want to go get the house, the mansion, the boat, and that's rich stuff. And you know what? We got rich. Everything he said he wanted, but there's something more than rich. Watching his family drive home in the Rolls Royce, that's not the highest form of richness. Rich in fulfillment, it expands beyond just a monetary measurement. It's in your health. It's in your life. It's in your contribution. It's in all areas. So if you could be a homogeneously rich human being, and all of those areas are quite what I think a lot of people call fulfilled, you're going to be happy. So just ask yourself, what's the single most important area in your life that you're ignoring? You could be great in business, but your health sucks. Well, don't worry. That'll affect your business next year. So if you get honest about it, I'd say for me, it's fulfillment. I hope one day you collect all those answers and just put them in like a tweet. I'd love to read that. That's a good question. Thanks for asking it, Mike.
Yeah, we started asking it season 2, and we actually did an episode sometime in season 3 with all the responses. We have like 200 of these or something.
So you already put together what I want. I want to them all.
It's really good. Ted, I'm sure people are going to want to stay in touch with you if they want to, get your research. We said email. Is there any other places that they can go
Miller
to?
Freeze on all socials, like LinkedIn. Come find me there. I'm committed to helping entrepreneurs better implement the heart of business, to where their business has a purpose beyond just the monetary gain. So yeah, reach out on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you.
It's awesome. Well, Ted, you've been super generous. I personally going to email you for that 30 question resource. And listener, thank you for supporting the show. As always, we really appreciate you. We can't do this without you. If you're liking season 4, let us know. It's all been serving this blue collar guy with white collar systems. And as always, leave today better than you found it. Till next time on the Better Than Rich Show. Cheers. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at betterthan_rich and join our Facebook group at the Better Than Rich Show. Thanks again for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, leave today better than you found it.